Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today as we're looking at a West Coast low bomb. And boy, does it show up big time on the satellite picture. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. It's this storm system that's bringing in the heavy snows that are expected across the areas of the Sierra Nevada and the Cascade Mountains. Upper level low into the east, it'll be swinging out that way. So the Midwest swinging into the Northeast could see some snows as well. I'll show you the snow totals on that. And then we're still tracking an Arctic plunge coming into the United States as we head toward Thanksgiving Day. So we're going to talk about that in greater detail as well for this report. Now, before we get going into this, first, I do want to thank the 10 new subscribers here to the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider it. Any ad revenue generated from this website or from this YouTube page is going to be used for my father's care, who's a Vietnam veteran. So I do appreciate you in helping me in this endeavor. All right, let's go ahead and take a look right now at the latest satellite imagery. As we've got, this is our upper level low here that's going to be swinging down into and kind of reinvigorate here across areas of Ohio and going into the Northeast. So this is the area we'll be looking at some snows here as we wrap up the work week. This is the leftovers of Sarah and the frontal system kind of moving in toward Florida right now. Starting to see the rains here clear off the eastern seaboard, dry across the south central states, and then here's the moisture coming in with that big low pressure system off the west coast here. Take a look at this. I mean, wow, this thing's really wound up, dropped down close to about 940 millibars. That's like a category 3-4 hurricane here. This is unbelievable. This thing's kind of stuck. So because it's stuck, we're going to continue this moisture plume kind of continue to drive in across Northern California and into Oregon. So again, we're talking inches of rain and feet of snow. It's going to be really, really dramatic. Could see some mudslides, and the flooding potential across Northern California cannot be downplayed here. Now, as we take a look at the current watches and warnings, we do have flash flood watches out here on the West Coast from Oregon down to California as a result of that. Winter storm warnings, still some blizzard warnings up here in the Cascades. And we got, of course, winter weather here with that upper level low here across areas of the Dakotas into Minnesota and into Montana. Some fog here across Ohio down toward Tennessee. And then they're getting ready for, you see some of the winter weather advisories start to come out in advance of that upper low that's going to swing that way and bring some snows in areas, especially into the Appalachians. All right, let's look at the surface map here. We're holding on to one more fairly mild day here across the eastern seaboard, but we got a couple of frontal systems going to be driving down the cold air, but the real cold stuff, that's still looking toward next week. Looks like Wednesday, Thursday coming in toward next week as we head toward Thanksgiving. Of course, here's our storm system out in the west coast that continues to pound this area out here. And getting some steady heavy rains here into San Francisco area, just north of San Francisco, Santa Rosa, up near Lakeport, going up toward Marysville. Again, this is training over the same ground. It's not moving. It's going to be there for a couple of days. So again, the flooding potential is going to be very high. Highway 101, obviously mudslides will be a problem as well coming in there. And again, feet of snow. And we'll show you the snow totals in that area here in just a second. Now let's go ahead and take a look over at the Storms Prediction Center as we look at our day one outlook here for potential thunderstorms. It's the only day that we're expecting thunderstorms is today. The next 2 days looking pretty quiet. But for today, with that storm system here exiting off toward the eastern seaboard, just a general thunderstorm threat here across portions of Ohio, back over toward New Jersey and down toward the Carolinas. Obviously, we got the thunderstorms as we were showing you this morning down here across South Florida, and maybe a few rumbles of thunder here across areas of Washington State down toward Oregon. But that's about it, really, as far as thunderstorms. So as far as Thursday and Friday are concerned, don't have to worry about it. We don't have any thunderstorms to track for those 2 days. Now, as far as the flooding potential, that is a different ball of wax here, folks, as it's going to be running very, very high here as we're looking at the day one. That's today on Wednesday, going into for Thursday and Friday. And check out this. They don't change that much. Look at California here. Here's your day two. We're going up to a high level there, just north of San Francisco and south of the Oregon line there, running very high. And that will continue even into day three. Backs off just a little bit, but again, the flooding potential will be running extremely high across Northern California as they get battered by that massive, huge storm sitting off the west coast there. Looking very, very rough out there indeed. All right, let's go ahead and look at your short-term forecast. We're looking at the high-resolution model here for the next 42 hours or so here as we're going to be tracking a couple of systems. We'll be tracking this area out here as this begins to shift off here toward the east into the northeast. And obviously, this area out on the west coast, not going to change that much really over the next 42 hours, thus indicating the flooding risk, which is running extremely high. So let's go ahead and run this on through again as we watch that low start to propagate and move off toward the east there, and it starts to wrap up. It's a cold, cold low. So as a result of that, there's going to be snow with this that's going to be swinging into areas across the Midwest and the Northeast. So this area in here, not overly high snow totals are expected on this. Nothing like they're going to see out toward the west, but they'll be there. And we'll show you the snow totals here in just a second. But you notice out here on the west coast, I backed it up. That rain just continues to batter. Not changing. Starts to shift a little bit further to the north, but it stays very rough out here over the next day and a half here out here on the west coast. It is going to be very, very bad out there with the flooding potential running extremely, extremely high. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the overall jet stream pattern here, which we're looking at the overnight European run here. That low you notice out here off the west coast, it's stuck. It's just going to sit there and spin itself out. Here's the upper level low here that's tracking across the Great Lakes. That's going to be responsible for snow across the Midwest and the Northeast and bringing in the colder air into the south. So as we watch the jet stream going into this weekend, as we see things kind of head on out, that low eventually is going to spin itself out. It's going to kick in and finally heading toward this weekend. And the jet stream kind of flattens out going into Saturday and into Sunday. So it's kind of fairly zonal. No big storm systems, looks like, for the upcoming weekend at least. Not looking too bad there as the temperatures will begin to moderate, especially across the areas of the southeast a little bit. But then as we go toward next week, that's when the significant changes start to take place with our jet stream. So going toward Wednesday here, we start seeing a ridging here start to take place. You start to see this ridging start to take place in here. We're going to start to really drive in some colder temperatures here as we go in toward Thanksgiving Day and into the following weekend. There's actually a couple of shots that may come in here. So you see the big dip in the jet stream there as we go late in the day on Thanksgiving Day. You notice it running just like this. That is a very amplified jet stream there. That's going to be driving in the cold air across the east. Obviously, well, with the ridging of high pressure out here in the southwest, that means the temperatures will be moderating out in the west area. That's been running predominantly below normal for over a month now. So that'll push off toward the east, and it'll be replaced by another big trough here coming in as we head toward the 2nd, going in toward early December. So again, the trend here going into December is we're going to see some much colder temperatures here diving in across the eastern third of the United States, and it'll be turning milder here across the majority of the west as we begin to enter into the month of December. This is going out toward December the 4th. All right, let's go ahead and track the rain chances here as we're looking at, again, the European model here with the precipitation. We're going to track that upper low. So here's our low pressure system here as it sneaks on here into the northeast and the Midwest. It's just going to spin there for a little while, and that's going to give us that chance of some of that snow in there as that upper low just kind of spins over Pennsylvania going into Thursday night and into Friday morning going into the 22nd there. And it's just going to spin across the northeast. It's going to dump some snow across Pennsylvania and into New York as well. And then finally, as we go into Friday night and Saturday, it'll start to kick on out. Now, the West Coast, it continues to get battered for that same period. And then finally, as we head towards Saturday, starts to die out. So we start to see some improvement out here on the West Coast, not looking nearly as bad out there as we go from Saturday night into Sunday, going from the 23rd and into the 24th. Most of the country on Sunday, not looking too bad. Pretty quiet here on your Sunday. We do have a little bit of moisture coming back in here Sunday afternoon late here on the West Coast. Again, a little bit further south, going from San Francisco down toward LA there. But as we go ahead and continue this forward here, again, we'll see fairly quiet there on Monday. The big question is, how is it going to look for Wednesday? Because obviously that's the busiest travel day of the year right before Thanksgiving. So we're going to take this right into Wednesday morning. So let's go into Wednesday morning. We'll stop it right there. It's not looking bad. We're definitely seeing colder temperatures. You see that 540 line? That's that freezing line there. Definitely seeing a cooling trend here across the north. But the good news is from a traveler standpoint, I don't see any major headaches here as far as travelers on Wednesday. As I look throughout the day on Wednesday, there's another storm system coming here on the west coast here. Could influence San Francisco a little bit in areas out there, but most of the nation looking very good for your travel there on your Wednesday. So as we continue through Thanksgiving Day, the trend here is for colder temperatures across the east, as we're seeing that 540 line, again, that freezing line kind of diving down to the south as we got some cold air coming in here across there. It's stormy out on the west coast, though, on Thanksgiving Day. It looks like a damp and rainy day all up and down the coast. There's some of that energy finally decides to move on inland there. And as we go forward here, going into Friday not looking bad, and then going into Saturday, that system begins to pull inland as it goes into the Intermountain region there, going into your Saturday. And then it kicks out into the plains as we go into Saturday and into Sunday. So this area down here we'll need to watch going into Sunday. Could see some thunderstorms flare up in here. and maybe possibility of some severe weather. I have to watch that pretty closely to see how that kind of materializes. But that pushes off toward the east. So travelers coming home on Sunday, right now could be some potential delays. We got a little bit of time to watch this. Obviously, it's subject to change, but we'll see how that works out. There could be some travel delays going into that Sunday. This just pushes off toward the east, and then we see another big Arctic plunge here. This is some very cold air coming in behind this system, behind this one, as this continues to push off toward the east here. I mean, I'm seeing 528 diving down into North Georgia. So this is a pretty cold air across the eastern third of the United States. So very cold here as the 540 line dipping way far south here. Noticing milder temperatures out here in the west as we go to the end of this run going into early December. All right, how does it look as far as precipitation is concerned here? We're going to move that precipitation off. Again, the west coast is really the target here. We're going to see 2 areas of rain here as we look for the next 48 hours. I'm going to stop right there. Obviously, some of this is going to be snow here across and some rain mixed in there across the northeast. We're talking some very heavy rains here across the intermountain, across California, up through Oregon into Washington. The higher elevations, obviously, will be dealing with a lot of heavy snow there over the next 48 hours. And we'll go ahead and take this on out. Let me clear this out. And again, watch what happens here as we go ahead and take this all the way through the weekend. The weekend continues with the rain there as well. And boy, it just continues to pile on out there on the west coast. So I'm going to take this all the way up to about 240. We'll go out about 10 days on this particular one. We'll stop it right there. And we're talking about some very heavy rains here across Northern California. Pretty decent rains here across the northeast. Kind of dry here in the middle of the country, though. Get a little bit of a break here for a lot of areas here for the next 10 days, the way the latest European model is showing. Now, I do want to go ahead and take a look at California specifically here. So let's go ahead and pull up California and talk about the rain totals out there for Northern California. So I'm going to pull them up. And boy, we're just talking about, I mean, here's 15, 16 inches there. And this is also showing up 16 inches. This is going up into the mountains here, folks. So we're talking about the mountains are going to be seeing some very, very heavy snow. The flooding potential is going to be running extremely high across Northern California as we're looking at some areas well over 12, 13, 14 inches of rain, especially those areas there in purple as we go for the next 10 days. Let's go ahead and look at the snow totals here. We'll look at, again, the national perspective. We'll go out in the 10 days on this one as well, as we'll see the snow there coming out here into areas of the northeast. So we'll stop it here, go up till this Saturday here. We'll stop late in the day here on Saturday. We'll stop right there. And we'll see the snow totals here across the northeast. So we're looking at most of the mountains. We're talking the Appalachians going up toward Pennsylvania, up to areas of New York and up Vermont and New Hampshire getting some snow. So not bad. I mean, decent amounts there, but overall looking pretty good there. So let's go ahead and talk about that. I'll take this all the way out as we look at the total snow totals here. And we'll want to take this all the way out to the end of his run because that next Arctic run really brings in some cold air. And look at the snows there across areas of the high plains getting into the Midwest as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the Northeast first as far as the snow totals. I want to back this up till the 10-day mark, okay? Because I really don't like looking at snow beyond about 10 days. But I'll just give you an idea of where that cold air may bring some additional snows with it. So let's look here first across the Northeast here. Again, we're looking at some pockets here showing up here. There's a 20-incher right there. But the areas here and obviously here in the areas in pink, we're talking about close to a foot of snow. So we're looking at a foot of snow in those areas. Ground temperatures have been relatively mild. They get a little bit of snow melt there, but overall not looking too bad for that area. Now, as far as the West Coast, I want to look at California because California, I'm telling you, that area is going to be very, very bad here overall as far as the overall snow total. So let me go ahead and pull up the individual state here, and we're going to look at Northern California here. And California, I'm telling you, it's just amazing, the snow totals here. Check this out, guys. 71 inches of snow there. Here's a 58. Here's a 53. So anywhere areas here in the higher elevations are looking at anywhere from 5 to 7 feet of snow potential here coming in here across areas of Northern California and the Sierra Nevada. They're really going to get blasted here, and we call it Snowmageddon. That's my definition of Snowmageddon right there, my friends. All right, let's look at the temperature profile. This is our last thing here on the model lookout. As again, we're going to bring in the cool air across the south into the east here going into Thursday. Obviously, we're seeing the cooler temperatures here going into Thursday here across many areas of the southeast. Modifying a little bit out here in the west a little bit, but again, this is your temperature anomaly map. And you see the greens, you see the blues, you know you got some colder conditions there. The reds obviously above normal. So going into this weekend, going into Saturday, still holding a little bit below normal across the southeast. And going into Sunday, we'll stop right there Sunday afternoon. Notice here most of these still running a bit above average where they're supposed to be. We're not talking warm weather. We're talking above average from what the normals are supposed to be for this time of year. Still holding a bit below normal here across areas from the Dakotas back toward California. Now, next week, again, that's when we're starting to watch that area there toward the north. We're going to be looking at some of that Arctic air as we head toward Wednesday start to come on down in here. So you notice these colors changing up here. There's some very cold Arctic air up here. We do have that initial plunge coming down here heading toward Thanksgiving. That'll cool things down, but the real cold Arctic stuff comes in behind this. So as we go through time here, go into the future, here comes the dump, boom, comes on down, here it comes, boom, coming in into going into the second and into the third. Has some very cold temperatures here across most of the eastern 2/3 of the United States going into the second and going into the third of December. So December looks like it's going to start off with much colder temperatures in the east. Notice that we start to modify. We'll see above normal temperatures eventually rising here back into the west. So we'll continue to monitor this and see how it updates here as we go through the next several days. Again, this is long-range model forecasting. Anything going beyond about 7 days is it will change, but again, the trends are colder. That's what I'm looking at, model consistency and how is it trending from one model run to the next. And it's been consistently showing this change in this Arctic air coming in to the United States. And the Climate Prediction Center is also picking up on this. Again, looking out from the 25th to the 29th. This was updated yesterday, mild here in the east and cooler here in the west. But it looks like the cold air is wanting to settle back into this part of the country coming in sometime around the 28th. So this might get changed here a little bit here for today as this begins to push off toward the east. And notice here going out to December 3rd, taking a bigger part of the country here. So based off model trends, what I'm seeing, when this gets updated later today, I think we're going to trim away a lot of this above normal temperatures here across the southeast, because as you just saw, it looks like the trend is definitely turning colder here for just about the eastern 2/3 of the country here as we head toward December 3rd and December 4th. So we'll see how the Climate Prediction Center folks update this map later today. Obviously, we're a pretty active weather pattern here, so we're going to keep the precipitation running high pretty much from coast to coast here, just a couple of areas that are a little bit on the drier side. And then as we look at days 8 through 14, again, going out to December 3rd, above normal precipitation here in the east, drier here in the southwest, and it looks like California will finally get a chance to catch its breath a little bit. At least it's near normal precipitation a little bit, just after the pounding they're going to get here over the next couple of days, that's for sure. All right, that looks like that's going to be your update here for now. Again, folks out on the West Coast, just stay prepared and listen to emergency managers out there, because this storm means business. Feet of snow out into areas from Washington State down into Oregon. It's going to be a problem. And don't forget about you folks there in the Northeast and parts of the Ohio River Valley into the Appalachian Mountains. You're getting your first real snows of the season here, so be careful on the road conditions in that neighborhood as well. And for those here in the eastern half of the United States that pretty much had a very mild, warm fall, just get ready. The colder air is coming. So just make sure you get those heaters ready. You're going to be needing it here as we wrap up the month of November and head toward December. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if you got a comment, leave it down below. Give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate your help, especially when you're fighting the almighty YouTube algorithm, right? Okay, that'll do it for now. You guys take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.